Welcome to Unsuck Your Meetings. This is part one, Why We Have Meetings. Author and humorist Dave Barry had this to say on the subject. If you had to identify in one word the reason why the human race has not achieved and never will achieve its full potential, that word would be meetings. Have you ever been sitting in yet another boring, pointless, excruciatingly painful meeting and thought to yourself, there's got to be a better way? We've all attended those meetings. Sometimes we've been leading those meetings, which begs the question, why the hell do we have meetings anyway? Ask that question of employees the world over, and you'll probably get some version of the following, also known as the company line. To share information, to communicate better, to ensure that everyone gets the same message, to build teamwork and esprit de corps. Okay, maybe they wouldn't say esprit de corps unless they were French or really, really snooty. What they won't say are the real reasons we have meetings, because we always have, so we can look busy. It's an excuse to go to Vegas, because we don't have any better ideas. In my years in business, I've been in a lot of meetings. Big meetings, little meetings, annual meetings, sales meetings, team meetings, project meetings. I've attended as a participant, a facilitator, an observer, and a victim. Hundreds and hundreds of meetings, thousands and thousands of people in those meetings. And in all that time, I've never met one person who loves meetings. Not one. Have you? Do you love meetings? Didn't think so. So right off the bat, let's agree on two things. One, meetings often have little or no value. And two, we continue to have meetings. So why do we keep having meetings when we can't stand the thought of them? Well, here are a few reasons. We think we have to. We have no choice. We can't think of any options that are better. We think they are supposed to be painful. We have fallen and hit our heads on something hard. A couple of million years ago, our early ancestors gathered around the fire to brainstorm ideas for avoiding death at the fangs of saber-toothed tigers. If we were able to drop in on this gathering, the telltale signs of a meeting would instantly be recognizable. Domination by a small number of particularly vocal humanoids, several others whose participation was limited to sitting, breathing, and making the occasional expression of annoyance or fear. A few that were busy carving messages into stone, an agenda that interested only those named on it, ideas that were aired and then quickly crushed, a complete lack of energy, creativity, shared understanding, or agreement on next steps. Invariably, that meeting would have been followed by one or more meetings after the meeting, small groups in dark corners of the cave, grunting all the things that no one had the guts to grunt during the original meeting. There would also be general agreement that the meeting sucked. Now, anthropologically speaking, there is no real record of early man using the word sucked, but I'd like to imagine they did, or at least express that sentiment through guttural noises, gestures, or evocative cave paintings. Yet here we are today, still having meetings that suck. No doubt our hairy ancestors had good intent, just as most of us do. Get together, share information and ideas, create a plan for getting the desired results. But we all know the road that's paved with good intentions, and it leads to a place whose attributes are not unlike how we often experience meetings. So, given a choice between attending a meeting and getting a root canal, many would gladly choose the latter. And it's easy to see why. We only have 32 teeth, so at worst, that's only 32 root canals and we're done. Some people attend 32 meetings every week. I'll do the math for you. That's 1,600 root canals per year. You're welcome. So why do we insist on having these organizational dental procedures? Because we think it's important to communicate. And we're right. The problem is that we believe, despite a complete lack of evidence, that we are communicating by having a meeting. Ask business leaders around the world if communication is important, and you will always hear an emphatic yes, or we, or si, or da, or hi. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will ever say that their organization would be better off if they communicated less. At the same time, they will also never say, hey, you know what? We should have more meetings, at least not out loud. This belief in the value of communication has led to a proliferation of so-called communication aids, smartphones, tablets, text messages, email, voicemail, instant messaging, all with the promise of improved communication. However, most of the time they at best provide more communication, not improved communication. But that's a topic for another time. We have meetings because we sincerely want to communicate more effectively and efficiently. Yet far too often, they have no real value. Why is that true? Well, here's the short answer. Meetings have little or no real value because we let them have little or no real value. In part two of Unsuck Your Meetings, I'll provide the warning signs that a meeting is valueless.